Welcome. Today I will be examining a controversial monument within the topic of art history and directing my focus to why the monument was controversial and inevitably taken out of the public space. But first, I have a quick question. Can you recall a monument that has faced controversy and been removed? When I asked myself this question, it was really hard to think of one. And maybe that was the purpose of removing a controversial monument, to erase the memory and association that an erected monument had. The ultimate goal being to have something outdated be forgotten and gone forever. It is first important to understand what a monument is considered to be, and what the job of a monument usually is, to then finally understand why some people try to remove them. A monument is a building, column, statue, etc., built to remind people of a famous person or event, and or a thing that remains as a good example of someone's qualities or what they did. Obviously, times will change, which in turn leads to dominant ideologies shifting and societal norms evolving. What is important is educating people on why things such as outdated monuments should be reevaluated and potentially taken down. A controversial monument I have chosen is the Gassy Jack Monument. In Vancouver, BC, Gassy Jack, also known as Jack Dighton, has been often referenced as the founder or a prominent figure of Vancouver. He even has a portion of the town in his name, known as Gastown. Quite recently, in 2020, Gassy Jack's shameful past was brought to light by the Indigenous Squamish Nation of Canada. The Squamish Nation's statement was, John Dighton, also known as Gassy Jack, immigrated to Squamish Nation territory from England around the late 1860s. Gassy Jack married a Squamish woman. She then died around 1870. After her death, he married her niece, a 12-year-old Squamish young woman who was known as Madeline. In 1871, they had a son together, named Richard Mason Dighton. Gassy Jack and Richard reportedly later died in 1875. After Gassy Jack's death, Madeline remarried a Squamish man known as Big William. They have descendants in the Squamish Nation today. Madeline died August 10th, 1948, age 90, in North Vancouver. This statement was a painful reminder of an all too common colonial past of Canada, along with the mistreatment of Indigenous populations. Shame quickly ensued, and people were left with the decision to reevaluate if they stood with the legacy of Gassy Jack. Unsurprisingly, most people would not side with Gassy Jack after being informed of his past. The statue was protested and eventually toppled during February 2022. A group of people adversely affected were the Indigenous women. Monuments like this one clearly displayed a time of inhumane treatment to these often marginalized people. A potential explanation for the monument's destruction could be that the monuments like this one were a reminder of a painful recent past. And a way of showing that the original behavior and beliefs were wrong would be to destroy the reminder. When do monuments become controversial? Monuments can become controversial when times and ideologies shift, which leads to the collective societal opinions of people changing as well. Opinions simply change over time. Historical values never stay stagnant. Controversy doesn't have to always be bad, though. Controversy is a time to critically think and reflect, and in this case, people decided that the history of Gassy Jack and his associated legacy didn't line up with what our collective society wants to represent, and therefore it should not be something to uphold and revere. Wrongs should be corrected, but the history should not be forgotten. I believe monuments that are controversial should not necessarily be permanently removed or destroyed. If a monument is preserved, it may become a better way to teach people of past mistakes. And with past mistakes being understood for what they were, future injustices should be much more unlikely. A goal for education could be to create a society of people that can critically think and be well informed to make good decisions.